John Boyle?
Did I get called on? I didn't hear anything.
Yep.
Yes.
You're on, John.
Oh, weird. Didn't hear that. Anywho, 12 games in, quarter of the season left. Just how do you feel about where this team's at with this final stretch coming up?
Well, we've shown some vulnerability, that at 8-4, that we can let some games get away from us when we really have high expectations to play well every time out and find a way to win. It certainly can happen. You got to get everything done every week, and it doesn't matter who you're playing or where you're playing. You got to play good football, and you got to finish it out. We've won quite a few games, late, and we had our chance again yesterday. It wasn't the way we had pictured it, but we were there with a chance at 148, and a couple timeouts. So games are really hard, and they're really challenging, and we got to be on it. What also I see a really improving defense, continuing to make progress. There was just a little span in there in the third quarter where we gave up a big run and a couple runs right after that, then it shut back down again. And we played. Other than that, we played a really complete game, but it was too much in this matchup. So I'm pleased that we keep getting better. We know we have a lot of firepower on offense. That's why we're discouraged, with we wouldn't get on the board yesterday. We couldn't get on the board yesterday like we need to, and so we got to get going. And big opportunity to finish. Everything's out ahead of us. It's like the season's starting all over again.
AJ.
Coach, so you said you wanted to look at some film before you really did any diagnosis of the offense and what could have gone better last night after getting a chance to look at film. What are some of your takeaways that you want to make sure get shored up?
There's some real obvious things on, third downs on offense would have made a huge difference. Not converting. We got to stay out of the real long ones. They're so difficult, and that becomes is because of the plays that happened before. We want to run the ball. Always want to run the football. Chris looked really good. I'd love to see him more. Defensively, we had a portion of the game, in the third quarter. It was really the third quarter was where we just lost our edge for a moment and then regained it. I'd like to see the consistency all the way throughout. I really liked the way the defense was running and hitting. I thought Jordan Brooks really showed up. I think this was by far his best game. I really liked the way Jamal played. He was all over the field making things happen. So, there's tons of stuff that I thought special teams really played good again, and love the way that those guys were running and hitting and making their plays. So it's good and bad. It's never as bad as it seems, never as good as it seems, and that's kind of what this was all about, looking at the film.
Ben?
Pete, you've talked in the past about, having conversations with your players who are going to be going up against their former teams, kind of the emotion of it, all that. Is that, obviously with the Jets, that, brings up Jamal Adams. Is that kind of a conversation that you plan to have with him, especially considering his, history with him?
Yeah, Brandon Shell also, it's a big deal to the guys. It's always a big deal when you go back home, and you have to. I think the first thing is to acknowledge that it is a big deal, and then to realize that you don't want to let that factor into your ability to focus and concentrate and do your job and all of that. Other agendas may come up and goals or dreams that you do this or do that. We want this to be a regular championship matchup, and nothing distracts our guys from being at their best. So that's what the conversation is about, and it's a real conversation. Now this is something that happens, and so we got to make sure we address it. And Jamal, being a very fiery, outgoing kid, more so than Brandon. I'm just, got to make sure with both of them, but I'll certainly talk to him.
And Darrel Taylor, any update on him at this point?
Yeah, he's in a routine of treatment. He got an injection last week that we're going to see how that works. He's gone as far as he can, like we said, and this was another stage of rehab that he could entertain. He decided to do it, and so we'll see how that goes. It's a couple-week process before we know more.
Michael Sean? Hey, Pete, have you seen anything up with Russell in particular these past couple of weeks as the passing game hasn't been where you want it to be?
No, I think that each game has been unique. We started so fast, and people have changed a little bit the way they're playing, and so we have to adjust and adapt to it. Um, and but he's other than he wants to do really well. He doesn't like not killing it, and so he's determined to make sure that he bounces back and has a good game this week and can get going.
Do you expect Quentin Dunbar to be back this week?
I expect him to practice this week. We'll see how he does. Yeah, we're excited that he's coming back out. He's had a really good process to get back, and he's been able to condition and more so than he had before and work on it. And I'm hoping his knee is really quieted down and he can. We just have to wait and see how the week goes. I won't know until we get on the practice field. But he is going to practice.
Masvita?
Yeah. Hey, Pete, you talked this morning and just now about adapting in game. Without getting into the weeds, how do you balance not throwing out your game plan, but just making the adjustments and not waiting too long to do that?
Well, we try to do that really well, but it depends. It depends on what it is that's called on. And sometimes you feel like what you prepared will come through if you stay with it, and you got to make sure that you don't go too long and wait too long. It's just really subjective every week. It depends on what the issues and the conditions are. There's not a really set plan to it, but you want to think clearly. You hope to make really good assessments that would cause you to adjust or to stay with what you're doing. Those are the big decisions. It's not always changing. Sometimes the best adjustments is staying with what you have done and is what you prepared to do. And in terms of you may get discouraged a little bit, you think, hey, it's not working. Sometimes you just got to stay with it and make it come to life. So it's really subjective, and there's a lot going on during the game and at halftime that rips by, and you try to make the most of it, and sometimes we didn't really change the rhythm of how we were playing offensively in the game effectively. We thought we were going to, we thought we would, and just didn't change as much as we needed to. And likewise on defense, we were ripping along, everything was going great, and then all of a sudden, bang! After halftime, a couple drives into it, it changed on us. And we had to adjust, and we did. We adjusted back and cleaned things up. So it just depends. Sorry, I can't be real specific with you.
No, that's fine. One quick follow-up: when a team changes a DC, what's preparing for that? Do they? I don't know if you can answer that. I mean, how do you prepare for that? Is there any way to prepare for that? Does a team change their soul, or do they stay who they are?
It totally depends. I understand that Frankie Bush is going to take over. I've got background with Frank Bush. He played for us way back in the day at NC State, so that means nothing at all to this the determination of what's going on now. But Frank's been in a lot of good programs with a lot of good coaches. You don't know. It could be a sore spot with the guys. They want to change something. They may want to play more of this, more of that. As things haven't gone so well at times, and so we don't know. We're gonna have to go into the game and evaluate really as soon as the game starts, and try to have a good gather a good feeling for it.
Corbin?
Rashad's going to be back in practice this week. Considering how physically demanding the running back position is, what specifically do you need to see from him on the practice field to feel comfortable with making him active on the roster?
Yeah. First off, we're really excited to get him back and get him back on the field with us. And it's just been a long haul. It's very meaningful to him to get back out there, first of all. And then, we'll try to. You really want to see him bang his brakes, and really get down and hit it and give really good tempo in practice. 'Cause he needs to practice at a high tempo and make the choices and the cuts that he has to make, catching the ball, how he's moving, how he's bursting. All of those things we'll look for. Is a really fast football player, and really sudden, and we'll look for, all of those kinds of things. We'll try to get him in positions where we can, start to gather information. It'd be a crime if he got out there and he didn't get many reps and didn't get to see much, So he'll get some service team reps. He'll get to get against a number one defense, and that'll give him some good tempo and all. And we'll just start putting together the information. You know, I've said it the whole time. The last thing we're going to do is rush this decision or rush the timing of this, which we haven't till now. And I don't want to rush this next phase of it. Want to make sure he feels really good about it. That'll ultimately be what it is. You know, Corbin, he's got to say that, you know, I'm ready. I can go. I can hit it. You know, and he's to that point to practice now. Now he needs to go out and do it against our guys. So. So it'll be just a process of just, you know, evaluating it, and we do need to, if we're going to find something out, we got to give him some chances. So we got to push it a little bit of practice.
Joe,
you mentioned last week it wasn't a setback with Darrel, but again, just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was after the Cardinals game, you said really, excited about that he was going to practice the next week.
Okay, Joe, I'm really optimistic and really hopeful all the way throughout this, and it just hasn't quite hit like I wanted to. Those are all really, you know, just kind of wishing and hoping based on seeing him run and working out, but we just didn't quite get there. So I apologize for being a little too optimistic on all of that, and even to this past week, I thought this would be the week, but you know, there was another doctor appointment that came in and changed the whole, you know, changed the kind of the time frames for what's going on. So there's a little bit more time before we'll know anything.
Is that him not being comfortable with maybe how it feels, or the rod that's in his leg that is giving him trouble, or I mean, it wasn't a setback? It does feel like something changed in that regard.
Yeah, ultimately he's got to feel good about it, and so he has to. You know, he knows the work he's done, and he's the one that knows what it feels like. And they can take all the MRIs and pictures and stuff they want, but he's the one that has to decide. And so, you know, we want him to be right and feel right, and that's why it's taken us to this point. And you know, we tried to kind of predict the time frames, and we got pretty close, because you can see him. He can really fly around on the field now, but that doesn't tell us how it feels to him, you know. And so so we're just going with what we know, you know, and we got to get the information. We had 4 docs involved with this, I think, throughout, and so they're making good choices, and we're looking after the kid.
How far is the difference of where things are at now and where you projected them to be when your medical staff cleared him before the draft?
Okay, you're not going to ask me when he's coming back. I'm going to guess that one because I've been messing that up. No, you're going the other way. It was a couple weeks ago when we thought there was a chance, you know, that long range thinking that maybe by this time he'd have a shot. When we started talking about it that way, you know, and whenever that was. And so, you know, like I said, we can only take it as far as it can go, and we need the information. He's a big aspect of the information. And then the docs, you know, came up with something they thought they could help him with, and so, you know, he chose to do that. So we're supporting him and waiting it out.
Art?
Pete, after the safety and before the half, DJ Reed had a great punt return to get you in midfield, and you had enough time to maybe make a couple of completions and get in position for a field goal at least. And then Russell threw a pass that got intentional grounding. It seemed like to be the most inexplicable pass he threw. What happened on that play?
He just threw it too far out of bounds. You know, there's kind of a marker that you can see the white that's outside on the. If the ball goes beyond the white, then they start to question, you know, how far the guy threw it away and how safely threw it. If it hits in the white, they pretty much say, well, that's close enough. And he chucked it. You know, it was just. Unfortunately, he threw it too far. You know, he was throwing the ball away, but he needed to do it, you know, more appropriately, and they got him. And it really, you know, we can still overcome it, but that made that really difficult. That we were all fired up about getting the ball right back there. We did use the timeouts. We did everything we needed to do. We stopped him. We were excited about that opportunity right there, but you know, sometimes the play can knock you out, and that one did.
Bob?
Yeah, Pete, you mentioned wanting to get Chris involved a little bit more. What the way the game went yesterday, it made it harder to do that, or was there something that kind of went on yesterday with not getting?
No, I think I told you guys. I tried to let you know that it was really, he was feeling like he could handle about as much as he did the week before. So we weren't really ready to cut it loose. He feels better this week going into the week than he's felt at any time. So I think this week is really a time where we have a chance for just cut him loose, and he can take the full load. So that hindered us a little bit in the thinking, and Carlos entered the game kind of gingerly as well, and so that both those guys, it affected us a little bit, and unfortunately that's just the way it went. Chris looked really good. He handled what we did. He came out of the game better, so in the long run of it, we'll have him, we hope, at full speed, full load this week.
And not to belabor the fourth down call, but just after looking at the film of that,
let's belabor it. Yeah.
Well, just after you looked at the film of it, just what went wrong on there, or what were you hoping would happen there that maybe didn't work out right, or?
They really had it played. They rolled the coverage right to it and kind of guessed right, really, is what happened. And so it was going to be Russ was going to have to find a way to really stick the thing in there and some spacing, and it just didn't quite happen. He tried and he couldn't get in there.
Greg?
Hi, Pete.
Hey.
We know your involvement with the defense. How often do you go to Brian Schottenheimer during a game and say, "Hey, let's run it here," or this set of plays do this, or are you kind of out of his stuff unless it's halftime or break?
No, there is a conversation in there. I'm with the offense during the offense when they're on the ball, and but I don't. I have a way of doing it so I don't disrupt the play-to-play call, but it depends on the breaks, and we've communicated enough that we can find the spaces between stuff, but I don't badger him at all, and because it's a real nuisance to a play caller when you're in their ear all the time. So I know that, and so we try to do it judiciously, and the situations certainly we're talking about. When we talk about when there's an opportunity, and we'll use the time there and quickly get to the points, and maybe I might hit, Dave Canales, who's up there with him, or BC, who's sitting right there with him, so that he can keep thinking. I can talk through them, but not a lot of. There's not a lot of conversation because it's important that there isn't. So, but when we need to, we do.
And with Carson, how much, when you say you're ready to turn him loose, how much is in the back of your mind, all the injury history and how you may need him in 4 weeks as much as you might need him this week?
Well, I think we need to get him back to full go, get him back to full load and all that, and ease our way to that. I'm not going to overdo it. We don't have to. We've got Carlos to run the ball as well, and we love Carlos running the football. But I think the main thing will be Chris feeling like he can go and he can take all the load, and that's important, and that's important to the play caller too, that he knows he's got him and all that. And so we'll see if we can make it there this week. There's an inclination that we got that. He's ready to go. We're ready to go, and we'd love to do that. But we're not at this point. We're not holding back for 4 weeks from now. This is a freaking championship run right here. Really, it really feels like the season starts all over again right now. We look at where we are and all. It's a great fourth quarter coming up if we can make it so. So we're going to go for it, and we'll do that 1 week at a time.
Curtis?
Yeah, Pete, just real quick, how's Carlos Dunlap doing? It looked like he limited his snaps quite a bit yesterday due to his injury and such. How's he coming out? Is he looking like he's coming along for you?
Yes, he's better off. He's better off today than he was. So that's a good start to the week. By Wednesday, Thursday, we'll know where we're sitting with him. But he feels better about it, and it's real positive signs. There's a few guys, with Dunbar coming back. That's a nice shot. Shell's coming back to us, we believe, and he thinks he can practice this week. And Cedric will come back this week as well. That's a nice little boost right there. So we're getting a few guys back in the action that could help us out a little bit.
And then just from a general sense with the offense, over the last 4 or 5 games or so, it's felt like things just haven't quite been clicking, especially not like they were in the first half of the year. Do you have a general sense on why things just aren't quite there the way you want right now on that side of the ball?
Well, I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to go the other way with it and say that we need to be balanced. We need to have our balance about us and able to go wherever we need to go. Down the stretch here, we need to be ready for anything, and there's a lot of information. Now, if you notice, there's a lot of scores that are starting to go the other way now, starting to cut down a little bit on all the points. There's been enough time for the defenses to see everybody, and right now it's going to be more challenging. Early in the year, it was wide open. It was like the wild west out there on offense, and we fell prey to that as well. And but it's tightening down. So we're going to need the running game. We're going to need the throwing game. We're going to need to be able to do all the things we need to do to take what's there in the games as it unfolds. Here's a great example. We're not sure what Frankie's going to do with his defense. So we're going to have to be ready to play real good, solid ball that we can count on, and then go where we need to go. When they show their hand, and that's going to be an exciting run here down to finish.
Tim?
Pete, you had your first player placed on the COVID list over the weekend. Do you believe that's an isolated situation?
Well, I'm not supposed to talk about that in any details at all, but he is not tested positive. We have a guy that we're in exercising extreme caution right now because of contact. So we're just trying to do it exactly the very best way possible, and keep our fingers crossed that he's okay. And so right now he hasn't tested. Nobody's tested positive yet.
And then last week on the radio with Pat Carroll, when you talked about your spacing competitions that you're having and related to this, I'm wondering if you could expand on what exactly that is.
Our space yeah. Okay, so what that is we have teams set up by positions, and some positions are combined, and each week we measure the close contacts that they have, and we keep score. And so we have an ongoing tournament right now, and I think it's the tight ends and the specialty guys, the kickers, that are in the lead right at this point. It's pretty close competition, and so we post a score every week and keep track of it. So it's an ongoing awareness that we try to maintain. You know, it's not unlike us to try to figure out a competition and everything. So we figured one out, and so there's some really good prizes at the end of it for the winner. So,
do you think that's been beneficial, having that just incentivized, I guess, in a way?
I think it's all part of it. You know, I think it takes everything that you can think of, and I probably have said that this is such a all-encompassing challenge. You know, every second of the day, whether you're here or whether you're somewhere else, something could affect the outcome. And so we're trying to maintain what all started off with attitude and a really, really strong, clear conscience of how to maintain, you know, the kind of decision-making that you need to pull this off. So I don't know that the spacing competition is the key, but I do know that it's part of the emphasis, and we just keep rolling with it every day that we get a chance to be on it, and it's worth every bit of it, because everybody that stays clean here, you know, stays clean for their families and the people that they love at home too, and their friends and all. So it's a big responsibility, and this is it's a challenge to maintain this you know, connection to the cause here. And so everything, you guys got some ideas, pass them my way, I'll take them. We're trying to do this right.
Thanks.
Jackie?
Jordan Brooks had a season-high 11 tackles. What did you see from his performance?
Man, he played hard now. He had some great plays in this game. It's really, if you go back and if you have a chance to go look at your TV copies or whatever and see it, there's 4 or 5 really, really beautiful tackles in the line of scrimmage and coming off blocks and fitting into the running game. He played like a real veteran in this game, and he was confident and physical, and he and Bobby were banging folks, and it was really great to see. This was just his best game, but that's how he's going to play, I think. I don't think this is like he won't be able to attain this level again. This is just who he is, and we've been really excited about him, and those plays show you why. And almost had a pick too, you know, on a low ball, and so he's did some nice stuff.
And then that stiff arm DK had on Bradbury and right in front of the sideline, was that one of the better stiff arms you've seen in the game?
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, that's a pretty good one. I don't know that it rivals the Marshawn one on Beastquake, but it was pretty darn good.
Last question, Brady.
Anytime you can make a beast reference, you should do it, don't you think? You know, I think, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Brady. My bad.
Oh, sure. 12 games in, how would you assess the way that Jamal Adams trade has worked out for you guys so far?
Oh, shoot. Ecstatic about it. He's been everything we could have hoped for, and at this point, and he's going to keep getting better. You know, he played a really good game yesterday, and he didn't get the pressure quite as much. They didn't throw the ball as much, but he had another sack, you know, and he's a fantastic player. I'm thrilled about the trade.
Thank you, everyone.
There's a lot made of his coverage. I'm sorry if there's time for one more. Just how do you feel about his coverage this season, the way he's made coverage?
No, he's had you know, some good one-on-ones. You know, he's right there. You know, they could have made a play on every one of them. He'll make them. He makes them in practice, and he's made them in games. He'll make some plays, but you know, some of the, you know, the 5- and 6-yard routes, you know, and 8-yard, breakouts in pressure situations. He'll make those.
Thank you.